Good morning, Katarzyna. It's nice to see today together with my students in online teaching and learning. It's obvious. Just from the morning, we had a short lecture about educational technologies, some background, panoramic view, and shortly discussed about some examples. And shortly, I want to say a few words. Possible later, Katarzyna will add something new or correct something if needed. Katarzyna Potyrala is a professor. She is a professor at Cracow University of Technology in Poland. Previously, she had worked in Pedagogical University of Cracow, but recently, as far as I know, she changed the affiliation. Anyway, it's good. I think she will gain so good and better experience, despite that Professor Katarzyna has quite large and huge experience in different areas, including ICT in education. And just to remind that she also is an associated researcher in France, University of Burgundy in Dijon, if I know well. So experience is really good, and it's once again, it's really nice to see you today. And please, now it's your time to share some knowledge, some experiences with my students.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Vincentas Lamanauskas, for invitation and for cooperation and for these possibilities of meeting of your students. So hello again, hello everybody, and at the beginning I will share my screen. So some kind of short introduction that this lecture will be connected with remote education, of course, so ICT in education, but also it will be connected with learning and teaching, and mainly learning. So at the beginning, few words about education and some paradigm shift. But of course, I will say something about learning because of this paradigm shift, and I would like to share with you some kind of the reflection connected with existed models of teaching and learning, and what kind of theories are adapted in education with ICT use. So in this slide, I will share my experiences connected with it. So I try to share my screen. Yes, probably will be good. So let me know if you can see, and for the beginning, the starting slide, can you see it?
It's okay, just you can
it's okay. Okay. So at the beginning, I can say a few words about me in this connection. So I'm an author of the book entitled iEducation, Synergy of New Media and Didactics in Different Contexts, but also in a phase of evolution and some paradoxes. And the title of this book is a reference to the book entitled iBrain. And a subtitle is How to Survive the Technological Transformation of the Modern Mentality. The author Small and Vorgan, it was 2011. And whose authors argue that the explosion of digital technology we are currently experiencing is changing not only the way we live and communicate with each other, but also our brains, which are undergoing rapid and profound transformation. So it seems it's my hypothesis that eye brains require eye education, adapt to them. And of course, I tried to face this thesis in this book, but also I will try to face this thesis also during this lecture. I changed the slide. So few words about education, because we know that education is teaching and learning. E-education, I-education, it is education mediated by electronic tools, IT, ICT, and of course, remote education is teaching and learning in the digital environments. But in connection with some paradigm shift, now we have in our syllabuses not educational outcomes, not teaching outcomes, but learning outcomes. So all the processes or didactical processes, and doesn't matter it is in the real environment or it's in connection with different possibilities of technology. The most important are learning outcomes. Of course, we know that this paradigm shift was formulated within the framework of so-called evolutionary economics, of course, but it changed everything, and also our thinking about the institution, about the organization, and also today the school is called learning organization. In this paradigm shift, we can see it's the new slide that old paradigms were centered, subject-centered and teacher-centered and information-centered, and in a way classroom lesson-centered. But now we have active learning, student-centered, and value-based knowledge and contextual knowledge. Development of the whole person. But let's think. Yeah.
Katarzyna, we see only title slide. Please go to demonstration full mode.
So I don't know. Okay.
In Polish,
so maybe okay. It's possible.
Now od posadku on the left side, please go on the full mode, or this below option to slideshow.
But let me know if this work version will be better. And now can you see second slide with education?
Yes.
Okay, so I will use it because we have less time. So okay, so third slide is connected with this paradigm shift. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so let's think about whether the essence of the thing is in the tool, and if you use these tools, whether we do it effectively for learning. So as I said, a few words about learning, and we know that learning is today interpreted as community, as identity, as meaning and practice, and of course a different approach, different theories connected with learning as doing, learning as experience, as becoming, as belonging, etc. But at the beginning, I would like to mention about the John Medina's book. John Medina is a famous popularizer of knowledge, mainly science knowledge, and he wrote a book in which we find the sentence, and it is some kind of quotation. So this sentence: if I were to create something that completely contradicts the needs of the brain during learning, I would create something like the classroom. And second book, Apprendre Parallel, it's a book cooperation team, but the main person was André Jourdain, one of the most famous French educators, and described the parameters and learning environment in his so-called allosteric model. He also writes about the importance of errors, of the mistakes in learning. And now I am in process of preparation a book about it. So probably the next time I can, if you will want, prepare some presentation connected with my new book about biography, professional biography, but also some results of the research André Jourdain. And so first brain, learning is a very natural process for brain, but a brain that doesn't make prediction mistakes doesn't learn. And at this slide we have a book, Les Neurosciences en Éducation. It's a team of Hippolyte Gros, and according to this team, to these authors, error has its place in the learning process, and for the students, reflective feedback on error is a beneficial way to better understand the concept. Of course, who is more likely to provide such information to students, the teacher or the computer program? So we know that during some computer games, we have a lot of feedbacks. So maybe more than during classroom. So it's under reflection. So at the beginning, we can say learning is own cognitive and metacognitive activity. It's something natural for brain, but also making mistakes and exploring your own concepts. Of course, learning in the light of neuroscience is different for different students. But school education is education adapted to the average student. That is to no one. There is no such thing as the average student, because everyone has their own cognitive preferences and some type of intelligence and educational needs. And we know this division of Howard Gardner. It's this basic for our reflection about the educational needs and about different strategies, methods, and also about the prepare some remote scenarios for our students. But I said about evolution, and I said school education is education adapted to average student, and in a way, evolution promotes mediocrity. We know examples of species that went extinct because they could not adapt. The condition for survival is adaptation to change. Technology, which is the generator of these changes, also forces changes in school institutions at all stages of education. The pandemic has shown that the rapid adaptation of teachers and schools to the situations somehow allowed them to survive and even indicate new opportunities. So, quotation from book of Carol Darwin, it is not the strongest who survives, nor is the most intelligent. The one who can adapt to change will survive. So we can repeat what we know about learning, that learning is our own cognitive and metacognitive activity. It is also making mistakes. It is also exploring your own concepts, but also learning is adaptation to change. And if we follow the development of the children, Then from the point of view the physiology, the development of the brain does not consist in an intensive increase in the number of nerve cells, but in the activation of their connections through the acquisition of new experiences. So we will repeat and we know these points, but we can add that learning is also experimentating. Of course, it will be very important for our reflection about technological tools adapted in remote education. We look at this moment, the next slide, at the food pyramid, and understand who is the producer, who is the consumer of the first and second order or predator. And both plants and animals have different adaptation to survive. But technology is called a modern predator. We are often afraid that artificial intelligence will replace humans. So much training, studies, competence improvement to achieve a better job, all this may turn out to be unnecessary, because wherever we talk about hard tough competences related to knowledge, we can be replaced by AI. However, we can still win this evolutionary race if we strengthen soft skills, and it is called by Jeremy Lamery 4C. It means these soft skills are communication, cooperation, creativity, critical thinking. So we can see that it's the same what we know about learning. But of course, this requires leaving the comfort zone of our current habits, mental habits, and qualification. So learning is stepping out of our comfort zone. So we, at this moment, we know more about learning. So we can repeat that learning is our cognitive, metacognitive activity. It's making mistakes, exploring our new concepts and changing concepts, adaptation to change, experimentating, but also getting out of our comfort zone. From the point of view of the neurology, we have two ways of impulse transfer. That is electrical conduction. It is associated with the action potential and the polarization of the cell membrane. And second one is chemical conduction associated with neurotransmitters released from nerve cells and transferred through synapses, of course, with a specific stimulus strength. In Polish edition, the journal, The World of Science, there was once an article by Tracy Shorts entitled "Neurons Die of Boredom." The author claims that the modern school does not generate sufficient stimulus strength to talk about active synapses. So the title of this article says, "Neurons die of boredom." And author also proves that knowledge cannot be transmitted. It must arise anew in the brain of each student. So our brain recognizes and generates patterns on its own. Learners do not need rules, but many examples that will help them recognize the structure of knowledge. At the next slide, we can see, so sorry. Okay, sorry. We can see the next slide. Yes, and then we can see hippocamp in this place. So the hippocampus is an important part of the brain responsible for learning and remembering, but we also have the limbic system and the amygdala amygdala body responsible for emotion, which are very important in a learning process, not only because of the so-called emotional memory, but also because of the real influence of the atmosphere on the entire learning processes. So the next pyramid, and at the bottom of this pyramid, we see relationships, positive relation with peers, family members also, and the next is environment of creative support. So the social emotional teaching strategies, and only then knowledge and skills. And here we should reflect on the extent to which this relation can only be mediated by information technology. So summarizing that learning in this light, different interdisciplinary light, is our own cognitive and metacognitive activity. It is making mistakes, but also exploring our own concepts, adaptation to change, experimenting, getting out of our comfort zone, but also, and maybe the most important, because it is on the bottom of the pyramid, is relationships, because it is a part of everyday life, and everything learning takes place through relationships with other people. So it was short introduction, because we talked today about the teaching and learning during remote education, and in the light of different experiences. But the second introduction is connected with the slide, and it is probably very well known chart showing evolution of theoretical and practical approach to ICT. So we can see the dates and also different theories. It means also models, educational models. And at the beginning, Shannon's theory, because it is some kind of basic connected with processing of information. And 60s and 70s of 20th century, it is behaviorism, and we know passive learning, mainly teaching, and also program teaching. It is connected with this name of Skinner, and of course first computers in teaching. But I will say more about it. The second one, and something between behaviorism and constructivism, is cognitivism. And also for pedagogical students, it is well now named Jean Piaget and active thinking, and also some computers teaching programs. But of course, it is maybe some kind of solution to be between these two different, very also limited approaches. And at the end of this way, in a way, because for most it is the most progressivistic, but we know that we have a lot of different more progressivistic models, but in this approach, it is constructivism, and also it is connected with building of some kind of construct, and construct connected with information which you obtained. And we can see that it's 90s of 20th century, and also from the beginning of 2000 year, it is computer-based cooperative learning. So today we have a lot of different journals with articles connected with new approach to this computer support cooperative learning, but it's not new. It's, of course, it is developed, but it is from 90s of 20th century. So artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, of course, it is something new as application, but artificial intelligence is developed from years. So it is a kind of evolution, of course, connected with theoretical and practical approach to ICT. So I said about Shannon's theory of communication, and it is connected with application in different models, and we know that between information, so sender of information and recipient of information, there is a lot of different distortions, and of course for behaviorist theory, it means a completely different approach, and Shannon's theory had only limited application in terms of the existence of a communication channel from the source of information to receptors. In the light of cognitive psychology, we can wonder what happens in the human mind and try to explain it through various theories. And nowadays, we very often assume and underline that the transfer of information is the most optimal in the social environment of the learning person. So this cooperative learning now is exists in the new form, because we are thinking about adaptation, this assumption, into the different platforms of learning, and also different computer programs, etc. So Shannon's theory is in a way a starting point, and we can find in this theory also guided teaching. It means by instructions. So the guides, the instruction for students during different activities, also during remote education, is nothing new. It's the beginning of this way of thinking about progressivistic methods of teaching. And also situated learning is also very close to Shannon's theory, and of course cooperative learning through reflection and discussion. I only can say that our modern approach is sometimes nothing new. It is only a new tool, of course not panacea, but something what is the typical for our times. We should take into account that technology is changed and technology go further, but our thinking about the methods and about the strategies, educational strategies, is still in the same point. So in general, we have three tradition in our education, also in e-learning. So it's the same tradition as in the real world, so in the typical classroom, and I will show you it. So the first model assumes the direct transfer of knowledge from the teacher to students. So a lot of courses, lectures, of course, and even if together with some exercises or practical classes, it is still in the same model, and we will reflect why. And the second one is based on training, and this training promoted to the rank of principal. And in a way, I don't know in your country, but in Poland, we say active method, but nobody knows who is active, because in from me for me, the teacher is more active than students, because teacher is very well prepared. He prepares everything to this, prepares everything to these activities, and books and slides and different copies, and also some materials for experimentations, maybe instruction, and teacher is very active. And also we have the same set in the computer programs, but of course the main and the most important is to see active students. So it's this tradition should be also be maybe redefined. And third tradition assumes that learning is no matter of transmission, but of a construction in which the student is an actor in the acquisition of his own knowledge. And we can now see it in the lights of these theories. So first one, it's all everything prepared by me. So I said I prepare a book about it, about different learnings models, learning models, and about confrontation, some kind of confrontation them with new conditions. So this academic theories, this frontal model, and we know that it's one-way transfer. It's very, very popular during our remote classes and during lectures, as today, for example. So it is one we will probably discuss, but at this moment it is one-way transfer of knowledge by the teacher, and student only listens and remembers. So the approach is connected with the ability of the student to adapt new knowledge, and we assume that student is openness to new knowledge, and also maybe we can say some limits, because of course the teacher and the student want to answer the same questions, what is not true, and also not true that teacher and student have the same frame of reference. So it's a lot of different limitation, but we remember a lot of different classes, and during remote education, during pandemic also, in connection with this frontal model. Of course, it is grounded in behavioristic models, behavioral theory. And at this picture, it is French image, some series depicting scientific advances imagined as achieved by the year 2000. So it was produced by in 1899 by artist Jean-Marc Cotet. So it is some kind of imagination what will be, but we know it is from our practice today. So some conditioning and some reinforcement and rewards when we have positive reinforcement and also some negative reinforcements. So when you play games and you have obtained some level, it's information, bravo, it's success, so it is positive reinforcement also. So we don't think about it. That is very clear that it is behavioristic approach to education. So it is the same as in the past. Only tool is new. So these models do not promote students' motivation to learn completely. Maybe this model, this behavioristic model, and this kind of computer programs with rewards are good for small kids, for reading, for writing, maybe for some very simple competition at the beginning. So it's not that we can't use them, but we should try to use different programs, not only this kind of computer programs. And this third tradition, constructivistic tradition, and of course some constructivistic didactics, so building knowledge through different operations, experimentation, discussion, problem solving. Okay, it seems to be very, very progressive in this comparison analysis from the behavioristic, for example. So students build knowledge through action, some expression, and of course their interests, their needs are taken into account. I would like to underline that not everything depends on the general cognitive structures. So also constructivist models do not take into account the impact of specific situation on students, and memorization is not only the process of storing facts. So it is not in such a way that if you have new knowledge, this old will be completely not taking into account. So new knowledge doesn't replace old knowledge. But in constructivism, it is this way. So it is, in a way, pedagogy of error, that new knowledge replaces old knowledge, but it's not true. So it is the main limit of this approach. So because rooted in this not true approaches, new more progressivistic models of learning are prepared. And of course, also some technological theories, so-called genetic theories, and we can also say about some limitation because it's a lot of different practice. But it is limiting to only to few principles, and a lot of different instruction. We can see it during learning on the remote platforms, a lot of instruction, but we know that instructions are not a substitute for face-to-face communication, and also some kind of autonomy necessary to build knowledge remains too limited. So not everybody learns in the same way. So these steps are very close to Skinner's programming. So a lot of different limitation, but of course we have very famous names, and a lot of different researchers are interested in this approach. And when, for example, when talking about genetic theories, Gagne, Brunner, Piaget, Ozubel are most often cited, quoted some educational practice approaches, and they draw attention on different parameters. For example, parameters of learning. It was typical for Gagne approach, and the same way categorization, and also similarities and differences, and the meaning given by culture. It's typical for Brunner, and also cognitive bridges are typical for Ozubel. So it means that according to these technological models, new information, of course, is processed on the basis of previously acquired knowledge, and from different points of view. Maybe students assimilates it, or something completely different ways of accumulation and assimilation, of adaptation, accommodation. So of course, modification of existing thought patterns according to new circumstances. But it's too complex. It's too complex, but of course very close to Skinner's programming, and also very close to organizational think on our platforms of remote education. And the next one is connected with social learning. Social learning, because we have social theories, and we can say that it's very contemporary approach, because of this, that we are back to this approach. So Albert Bandura, social learning and mobile learning also, so different different social approaches, and underlined that environment of learning and atmosphere is very important. But of course, it is a question if really ICT literacy is faced to this model. And of course, some humanistic approaches, and very important that relationship between teacher and student is the very important factor of learning, and probably in this approach, teacher is only a facilitator, so some kind of organizer, or maybe a guide for students, but I don't know if we have a lot of this kind of practice, probably not. And also in our remote approaches to education on the platforms, and different even educational programs, it doesn't exist. And some experiences connected with pandemic, because during the COVID pandemic, distance learning solutions, such as virtual classrooms, TV, radio broadcast even, and computer broadcast, internet broadcast, and computer assisted learning have been introduced to main links between school and students. And also we know about the consequences of learning in this virtual environment. It was rather poorly poorly understood, and we have some reports now connected with this time and application different strategies. So in this case, in the case of pandemic, distance strategies, one-way model was widely practiced. So we know that it is only one-way transfer from teacher to student. Slightly less often it was participatory model, e-participation model, described as more effective than one-way model. And also third one was M-teaching. It means mobile teaching, but it was successfully incidentally. So it was also published in different articles. So you can also find it, and also your Professor Lamanauskas, in his journals has a lot of good examples of different approaches to education, also during COVID pandemic. But I would like to say you, so sorry, yeah, about the third, the fourth model. So I said that it was 90s of 20th century approach, very popular in connection with development of ICT. It was computer supported collaborative learning model, and I found it now in different articles with positive feedback loop model. So we have some kind of comeback of this approach, and I think that some kind of ecosystem for learning and in some kind of inclusion in remote education is, we can say, it is developed by this model because of some more complex feedback system, and also some relation between teaching and learning because of this loop model, but it's only double loop. But so spiral program assumes that it should be more than double, but in these articles which I found was only double loop model, but it's okay in a way because of the time during classroom, etc. But of course, during this double loop even, is possible to identify the students' own learning strategies and some errors. So it is errors, mistakes. It's very interesting for teachers. At this slide, in this table, we have some relationships of different distance learning models with pedagogical theories. So I told you about some theories, and now we have some confrontation of these different remote learning and teaching models with these pedagogical theories. So of course, one way knowledge transmission model, it is frontal pedagogy, it is behaviorism. So it's mostly teachers' responsibility to transmission, and of course the maximum effort required of the student is listening and memorizing. And of course teacher uses associative strategies, so it means giving strategies And of course, the method of demonstration is mainly PowerPoint, presentation and lecture. And also we have some positive and negative reinforcements in this approach, because sometimes a teacher gives some tasks for students for checking if they are still in their environment or not. So they are listening or not listening. Okay, and second model, it means a participation model. It is most cognitive, and it is connected with information processing models. So we have some remote activities. So we have some patterns of mental schemes that have been activated on the remote platforms, and we have a lot of instructions, and of course acquiring knowledge through indirect experience, and also some processing system and some modules, lessons, etc. But of course, this e-participation model is online based and in a way social centric, and we know that more engages students, so maybe in virtual platform, but also social media. So it's some element of creation, of course, but everything is this system, in this scheme. So it is decision tree in a way. It is the way of building these platforms. It is some kind of decision tree. You should decide what you interest in more, or for example, which way will be better for you. But everything is, of course, in this programming tree. Okay, so some limitation, because of characteristic of different theories and models of learning. And of course, a mobile learning model, it is connected with different applications, for example, in your mobiles. So it is quasi-constructivistic model, and of course subject has his or her own cognitive activity, and in this it assumes that you can construct your knowledge, your individual knowledge. But of course this approach is very limited also, because everything is in this application, and even if you ask the question, it is of course some limited possibility of answers. So in a way, quasi-problematic approach. And this last means double loop computer-supported collaborative learning model. It is in a way quasi-social, quasi-constructivistic model, and of course based mainly on multiple feedback loops and pedagogical feedback system. But of course we know that everything is connected with the mobile tool and with an access to the internet. So in this fact also the access to the internet is something what is the reason for your limitation. So in different conditions probably it will be impossible. So it's also these opportunities and limitation of the use of distant learning and learning models. So one-way knowledge transfer is only mainly demonstration and lectures and more teacher-centered strategy, and also the structure of message is generally teaching-oriented than learning-oriented. And this e-participation model is connected with mostly with learning platforms, give learners the opportunity to repeat and resume activities, but only according for instruction. So everything is in these programs as in Skinner's approach. And it is that interaction is not the same as participation. So the name e-participation model is sometimes only e-interaction model, and this interaction is sometimes very poor, so not participation. And it's also connected with some declaration of participation, because on the Facebook, for example, you have a lot of different activities, and you can choose some of them, and there is a question if you will participate in some activities, and the people declare that yes, I will participate, but it is only declaration, and finally it's not a participation. So it is some kind of interaction, because you repeat on this question yes, but in fact you don't participate. So we know that in our taxonomy of the educational goals, participation is the highest level of education, not remembering and understanding and solving problems in typical situation, but of course it is a way to this to the top. But of course, it's some kind of interaction, but not participation. And of course, in this mobile learning model, we have learning goal-oriented, and some application. It is a mobile tool and allows, of course, to solve the problem in different situation, but anywhere and anytime and sometimes not every situation is good for this application. So of course some limits, and also connected with the internet. As far as the double loop, this computer-supported collaborative learning is concerned, feedback and confrontation with other points of view are very important for the learner, but they are not a substitute for individual research and the effective use of ICT tools to challenge and reconstruct knowledge. So it's very short, of course, because I would like to stay with you probably around 15 minutes and give you some time for this double loop, but also for feedback. So if you have some question, welcome. And of course, Professor, maybe you know what your students needs, and what can I also explain for them.
Thanks a lot, Katarzyna, for your informative presentation. As usual, obviously, personally, I have some questions for short discussions because our time is limited, but anyway, some minutes we can discuss. Please stop sharing your screen.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Yes, possible students can raise some questions or just write in the chat as previous time. I will try to transfer to Katarzyna. First, what is the future of technology? in education, from your perspective?
Okay, so I'm very happy that it's a progress, technological progress, and in a way I am a fan of technology, and I use also ChatGPT sometimes. I think that every time has the tools, and the most important is critical approach to the tools, and remembering that it's only a tool. Not method, not strategy, and it should be used something if it will be good for students for their learning, but not permanently, and not for all problems, because technology doesn't solve our problems with acquisition of knowledge. And also it should be, of course, very attractive for students, because there are some kind of they were born in this environment, so it's something natural, and they use it very quickly, and it is something natural. So we, as a teacher, we should take it into account, and we should think about attractivity of the teaching and learning process, because in the internet we have different lectures, a lot of different lectures, in very attractive ways. So a lot of different YouTubes and different social media platforms for exchanging knowledge. So school should be attractive for students today, and be on time because of technology, but not treat it as panacea.
But possible we do not need teachers anymore. We have a lot of technologies, and not only nowadays, not only now, but in current situation, but in the future, in the near future. The trend is that we have personalized and so immersive experiences, and having in mind learning experiences. For example, I returned from the Taiwan last week. I had an academic visit in Taiwan at Chiai University, and oh my God, everybody is approximately immersed and personalized, and let's say do not see others around, just playing, doing something, organizing their lives, etc., etc. And today in the morning, we just shortly went through this experience and discussed about technology as a business, because I took a short part in educational technology exhibition in Taipei on last Sunday, and it was quite really challenging. Different companies, different groups, etc., presenting different technologies. But what does mean technology? For example, according to forecasts, by 2026, which is in 3 years, global market will reach let's say, game-based learning will have grown to approximately 29-30 billion United States dollars. It's becoming just a business. But is it effective enough? Is it really useful in our, let's say, teaching and learning? Or just we following this trend from the companies because we need to create, we're just creating something. But is it really effective? Is it really useful? This is impossible. I don't know. my
Yes, but because of your opinion, this immersion, and of course, for example, gamification today, rivalization is also very popular notion. But these games maybe should be attractive, but not for everyone, because everyone learns in his own way, and it's a specific, very individual. And of course, we have some algorithms in these games for average person, for average student. And I said average, it doesn't something as average student, because everyone is individual. So it is attractive for some part of our student, but of course everyone must learn in a way. Everyone is very alone in this process of learning, very alone. And what a teacher can do, probably nothing. Probably only be next to student and help him or her in this process, and interested in the interests of students. Also, it's very difficult, but in a way it is possible.
Yes, but again, why do we need it? Possible robots will replace ordinary teachers, and
Yes.
robots will be adapted to personal, let's say, interest and personal needs.
Yeah, in one of Polish university, robot last week obtained a professor, doctor honoris causa. Yeah.
Please explain in more detail.
I can say it's Academii Humanum in Warsaw. The robot obtained doctor honoris causa.
You see, robots
Yes.
becoming as teachers.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a woman, robot woman. Yes. It's also in the media was last week. So it's interesting, because if robot is a doctor honoris causa of the university, so probably her students are also robots, because the communication will be easier. So I don't know if it's possible to be in this connection with such professor in the same way as real.
Colleagues, possible questions, students, if you have some questions, just give or ask or comment on something.
Okay, maybe comments.
I see one question.
It's difficult maybe because they are immersed in this.
The question is that it's obvious that nowadays we have a lot of digital technologies and very big, let's say, assortment, very large assortment of different technologies. But the question remains how to transfer it to teachers. The teachers also need to be competent enough in usage of this or such technologies. It's not so easy. I also observed in Taiwan during this exhibition how teachers are involved in technologies and their competences, and they need also some training. What do you think?
Yeah, but maybe I can ask your students, what do you think about artificial intelligence in education? Not you, but your students. They are you used?
This is my biggest concern before exam, because possible students will use artificial intelligence. If you remotely raise a question or give a question to students, it's possible receive answer generated by artificial intelligence. Who knows?
Maybe during the emailing with you, they use ChatGPT. They ask ChatGPT, please prepare me some mail to Professor Lamanauskas because of some rules of university.
Why not? I will return back to Taiwan, because in Taiwan they canceled every distance online learning.
Okay, everything is possible. Okay. So you are very open, and it's very good for your students. Okay. So use what you want, but you should learn. Use what you want, but learn.
Okay.
However you want, learn. And if you have some results and you can discuss and argue your point of view, it's
And by the way,
probably
short question related to this discussion. What short situation in Poland, for example, are lecturers or teachers concerned with artificial intelligence?
okay. It's a lot of fears because of ChatGPT, which solve the problems and also prepare some homeworks. And the teachers can't check if it is prepared by students or not. And but in a way it is possible to check, because if you know your students, you know what is the way of thinking of your student, and maybe how somebody can write something, some possibilities, and their store of knowledge. So it's possible to check if it's, or can you precise something, because when you a teacher of the Polish language said that sometimes the homework task was write something about your friend, and ChatGPT answered, ChatGPT has not a friend. so when you precise your task, ChatGPT doesn't answer. Because it's everything depends on your task and your question, and sometimes it's impossible to find the answer in the internet.
Yes. Okay. The meaning idea is that teachers also should be in line with technologies, with technological advancements. It's somehow obvious. I see that Violetta is typing something, but no any question yet.
Already question is answered. I was thinking to write about higher education and ChatGPT, so yes, the answer now is.
Okay.
Okay, we should be creative enough, but it's not.
We can talk about next time, maybe.
Yeah, sure, because our time is really limited at this. It goes as usual, quite fast, quite quickly, high speed, like we should turn to another activities.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
cross fingers for you.
Yeah. Thanks once again so much for your lecture, for your discussion, and for your attention to us, to our students. And on behalf of my small group, we have only small group master students, and I wish you big success in your new not new, but your university, new position. And anyway, I hope for next cooperation and next possibilities in different formats and different manners.
It was a pleasure for me. So thank you so much, and it was very nice to see you and your students. Very nice, and thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a good day.
See you.